Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. Hey everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. Oh, that's right, Milo moved. Well, that's right, everybody. My friend Milo, who's been a great contributor to Dave's Bonsai for the last year or two, the family moved about a week or so ago, so Milo went adios. And the new owners, super nice people, got a couple of kids and cats. Well, at least one cat, but it stays inside. So I don't think we're going to have any Milo interruptions anytime soon. And hey, I've got a great show for you today because a friend from high school contacted me via the old social media platforms and is an avid gardener. She has beautiful 12-foot sunflowers in her backyard. She works out of her home. She gets to look at these beautiful sunflowers. He said there's like 100 of them in this plot of area that they have. Beautiful. She's been watching the channel a little bit, and she has this tree that just was getting a little out of control, and she said, you know what, I think Dave would be a great person to take care of this. We have a hibiscus tree from Jeanne. Now, Jeanne and I go back to high school days. We were in choir together, and yeah, she just thought it would be something that I could take care of for her and her husband, and well, do what I do to most of the plants and trees that I take care of. Now, she's well aware that I probably will attack this tree, and it won't look the same anytime soon. So I hope if you're watching, Jeanne, you'll be able to, you know, well, I hope it won't be too sad. We're going to take good care of it. So I will point out that there was a bloom right here. I wanted to see the bloom before I did anything to the tree. I thought I would wait maybe till later to repot it, but after consulting with my buddy Nigel Saunders up there in Canada and talking to him about time of year, as long as I can keep this tree in a warm climate and maybe extra humidity, we should be okay with recovery. So I'm going to go ahead and put the windows and the doors back on my cabin cold frame early, and we're going to stick it in there out of the direct sun, and we'll probably get a little bit more warmth and humidity in there for a good recovery for the hibiscus tree. Let's get a close-up of the flower. Here we go. It's not completely open yet. I think tomorrow, if the sun comes out again, it'll open up even more. So we're going to leave this on. There we go. So there's a bud right there. That should be fun. But this one might open in the next couple of days. We can start to see some red on that one. So there's that bud. Yeah. So I don't know if these will be in the final design, but we'll probably keep them so we can see them bud. And then typically buds will take the energy out of our trees. So sometimes we won't let the trees flower out, maybe but once every 3 years or so. We'll see what I do with this hibiscus. Now the final interesting feature before we talk about what we're going to do with the hibiscus tree is we've got a little friend in the tree, which we'll have to keep close to for good luck and hopefully prosperity and growth and getting healthy again. But do you see behind these leaves here? Yeah. I think this was a Christmas tree ornament. Yeah, in Jeanne's family. And so this was from her mother or maybe her grandmother. I'll have to confirm. Yeah, jot those down in the comments, would you, Jeanne? So here we go. We got this little birdie. It's been through some tough times. Yeah, it's looked better. She promised me it looked better at one time. But it's on there right now, and we'll see where that ends up in the design of this tree. So we have about a foot plus pot. Big, beefy pot. And a lot of roots coming up at the top here. So we know there's a lot of roots. It spent about 6 years in this pot. So it has been doing really, really well. And this branch came out in the last couple of years, and it was kind of tied to the trunk here a little bit to keep it going up. And so down at the bottom here, we have this nice little lower branch. Now that's too low for that first primary branch. So we'll see what we end up doing with that. This could be a sacrificial branch that just is taking care of thickening up the trunk of this tree. As you can see, our next branch is way up here, a good 15 plus inches from the base of the soil. With the branch this high, nice division here, and then it divides there, gets kind of cluttered up here. I don't know what we're going to do with this thing yet, but first we're going to take it out of the pot, and we're going to see what pot we're going to put it into with some good bonsai soil. and then we'll work on the tree structure and what we're going to do. And we'll be able to find a front, I think, fairly easily on this tree because we have this side, which has the branches growing off to the right and left. And if we spin it around, this side might be a little more inviting. It kind of wraps us up a little bit more, except for this one goes right into our face right now. So right now this tree is at about 4 feet off the ground, but this pot again is a good 12 plus inches. And so we're gonna bring it way down for sure. And then we're gonna let this one grow probably, put it in a new pot, do some early pruning decisions on this tree. And then again, we're gonna put it in the cabin cold frame where we can keep the humidity a little bit higher than normal. So this will be a fun project. So why don't we just dig right in? Remember everyone, the biggest challenge with big trees, well, they're big and heavy, hard to handle by yourself. And you have to have big enough bins to get this work done. Okay, I think we're ready to lift this thing up again. Excuse me. We want to be careful not to break the branches, so we're up higher and it rests right here. It won't go there, and I'm going to try to slide it right into the pot here, right into the bin. Oh yeah, coming in real nice. Oh, that was so much easier than I anticipated. And now I've got this wonderful new pot. Who knows what will go in there? As we work around the tree, our typical pattern is to work around 360, work the soil off the top to see what's going to be down below the surface of the soil. Where is the bottom of the tree? Where do the roots start to flare out? And so we know how much of the bottom roots in the end we can actually just cut right off and save some time if that's what we need to do. If there's a lot of roots on this tree, all the way up here in this top third half of the pot size, we can maybe just cut off the bottom roots a lot more aggressively. The other thing about getting a new pot, or a new tree from someone rather, in a pot like we got, we never know what's underneath. We don't know what they fed this tree. We don't know exactly what kind of soil they used. I know this is dirt, of course, and not bonsai soil, but we want to see kind of what we got here. Just like when we have a nursery tree, we don't know exactly how the roots are looking. Sometimes it's even okay to repot a tree if it's not the best time of year, simply because we want to make sure that there's going to have success in the tree. And the biggest thing I believe, one of the biggest important things about repotting a tree is, what is the aftercare going to be? And I think the aftercare of this tree will be in pretty good shape. We're getting a lot of great exposed roots, a lot of really nice sized roots. We have small feeder roots, we have medium roots. So we have a lot to go on here. So we're going to keep digging away at this, and we'll see what we got here in a few moments. I emptied out the first round of dirt to give me more room to release some more dirt here. And we have gone down a little bit on the trunk here. As you can see, the roots were starting to grow up in the pot, as well as down and out and around. And so we've actually, you can see by the darkness of the tree here, this was the soil line. We're down a good inch, and there still isn't a big strong root yet until right there we go, right there. So look at that nice root right there. We want roots like that to go all the way around 360 degrees and then get finer and finer out towards the edge of the pot. And so that's a good starter root. But now, do we have any more roots that match that other parts of the tree? If there's just that one, we're probably going to cut that root back a little bit so it slows down and we can encourage some of the other roots to beefen up a little bit. Now look at this section right here. This was pointing up here, but as I pull back, there's another big root right there. Big root that goes out and down. Here's the first root we found right here, but this was being covered by all these roots that are growing up. So now, this is the trick with repots, right? If you just went and cut all these roots at the bottom off, you don't know what you're cutting off. All these roots here, we're starting to shoot way up like this. And if we cut them off down below, we could be cutting off all the roots. Here's another nice root, continuing our 360-degree pattern, or our wish for a pattern. It's looking pretty good so far. We got the original root I found right here, the big thick one here, one right here. And if I turn the tree, I believe there's even one right here. So we're a little weak on this side back here, where I first started seeing going down this. Look at this, there's no big thick root here at all on this side, but the root plane is right about here. So we can hopefully encourage some roots right there to grow, and some people might even do root grafts on their trees to get roots growing in that spot. So we could take this same exact tree, and if we had a sucker growing, a sucker with some roots, and then we just grafted it right onto here, we could get some new roots. Then we'd cut off that the tree portion of it, the leaves and the foliage, and we'd be able to have some roots there. I have not done root grafts yet in my bonsai journey, so that might be something down the road. I'm certainly not going to do that today with this tree. We'll see what happens as we get this into some bonsai soil and see how this thing is going to react and grow as it becomes more of a bonsai instead of just the hibiscus tree in the nice pot that it was in. We're going to go ahead and adjust its life a little bit. A lot of roots in here. Doesn't this look really good? And look, we have another big root down here. Now, we're going to sort out some roots later, but this root down here, this might be too low. We might cut that whole thing off. There might be a taproot down there too that we're going to cut off. And you can see all these roots right here growing off of this main root right here. Look at all these fine roots growing off right here. We can cut this thing right there and promote more growth and more thickness there. This one right here is growing off right there. There's some division right there. This one's kind of breaking off right here. That happens from time to time, but we're going to cut it probably right there anyway. And there's another root down here that grows from the bottom part of the tree. As I start to make progress deeper in the pot, you'll notice, look at this circle around of roots. Look at all those roots. Those are coming from way up top here. We're not going to need hardly any of those roots down there. And so now we can start to clip some of these off and make some decisions here. And quite literally, I'll be able to just chop right across this root structure and we'll get rid of this nest of roots. That's what it looks like, a nest to me. It's all swirled up like a bird was making this for its young. Okay, so there, look at that. Look at that circle of roots. Now this tree wasn't completely pot bound, but that is a lot of roots circling around and around and around and around. And we're going to get it now all trimmed up and sorted out and put it in a new pot with bonsai soil, and it should be really, really happy. So I went ahead and dunked this into the pond just to get all the roots all nice and moist. I didn't want things to dry out here. It is a nice, beautiful summer evening. Upper 70s, mid to upper 70s. The roots aren't going to dry out drastically, but they will dry out. And so I dunked it in the pond, and now we just have an amazing amount of roots to consider. Now, the biggest challenge, potentially, of this repot, as is often the case, especially with a tree this large, is just how big of a pot we're going to have. I just recently, in my last episode, if you check out the work in the plant room, did some August, late summer work in the plant room, getting it ready for fall and winter. And I organized all my pots. And just for the heck of it, I went down there real quick in the plant room and I looked at my biggest pots there in that bottom shelf that we worked on just the other day. And I said, no way, this tree is not going to fit in any of those wonderful pots. This is the one pot I was considering for a couple other trees. This right now, without any more trimming of the roots, would barely fit in there. So this is a really strong candidate. And I love the blue here for the color of the flower that we have on this right here. Let's bring that into frame. Look at that. If that was flowering right there, that is a contender for sure. I also have this big oval plastic training pot. And right now it looks like it's way too small for this tree. So if that one's too small, this oval is definitely too small, so that one can go on the wayside. And then I do have a square pot, but I don't know that square pot is going to be deep enough. Sorry, I bumped the camera again. Look at how high that root system is, and even if we cut it back, I think this is going to be too small as well. So I think it's going to be between the oval and this pot, and I think this one right here is just going to be the winner with this big tree. Partially because it's big and thick ceramic and heavy duty, it won't tip over in any wind. And the tree is so tall, it needs the biggest pot I have to kind of support the height of the tree, even though we will cut it back and promote back budding and hope that more branches grow down here for future primary branches. So 3 pots in the background for consideration. We're all set to take a peek at this tree now. You look at the roots here and it kind of juts over this way. That's got to come off. And that might have been where the original pot might have been. We'll take that off there and this one off here. And we'll peel this roots back. We'll peel these roots back. Oh, I don't even know where that one goes. Look at that. It goes back down and around, and we took off that section. Okay. So we can cut some of these roots that are facing down. We're going to twist the tree a little bit here. Look at this one coming from way up here. Comes down over here. We don't need all this stuff down below it. Going to give this just a little bit of a twist again, but I don't want to break that branch. Gotta be careful. So we have a big root here. This one we're going to cut off right here for right now. Look at that big one. Get that off of there. So now we just came across a big root right in here. Now this right here could be an original taproot right here. This one's big. In order to make this tree where we want it to go, we're going to have to get rid of that. There we go. Okay. Look at that. Now that fits in there pretty nice. Will it fit in the oval? Even if it does, this oval pot is plastic and lightweight. This one's not deep enough. I already am going to make the decision just in this short amount of time that this is going to be the winning pot for sure, and it's going to house all these roots beautifully. I wouldn't have to take out any more roots if I didn't want to. The question is, do I want to, for a couple of reasons. One, if we leave it in a pot for 2 years, all these tangled messes of roots are going to be more tangled messes of roots. So we want to see if we can straighten some of that out beforehand. So now before I dunk it in the pond again, I just want to lay out some of these roots and see where they're going. Like, see, this one again is growing from way down here. I don't even know if we end up keeping that root. This one grows from this one right here that goes down pretty far. And again, we're not going to need all of that root. So we see our multiple layers of roots, right? We have the top roots right here. There's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a nice radial root pattern. Look at that root pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. We just need like a 5 and a 6 over here, and it would be lovely. But then there's this guy tangled up. That's from the lower root, way down there. Well, eventually we're going to have to cut that off, right? But do we cut it off today is the question. I am going to cut this one down here off. And there's another root right there. Let's see if I can cut that one off. Yeah, that down there is not going to do us much good after a while. So we can keep some of these multi-layers of roots for now, because again, this is a new tree to me and I want to make sure it survives. And again, we have a lot of big roots. Going all over the place, down. There we go, get rid of that one. This one right here is coming from this, there's this section right here. There's all kinds of tangled roots in here. I think that one can just come off. It's grown in a weird, funny way. And when this gets in the pot, we can maybe cut off some of these more too. We're trying to spread them out so they'll grow out. This one's growing out, down. We'll get rid of that. Get rid of that. And as I lay this tree down again, we got a couple inner roots here that are thick. So as we can see at the bottom of the structure now, we've got a couple of big roots we've been kind of gnarling off a little bit here. Got a big root up here, curls upwards. That one, thick ones there. So all these are growing down. And there's our thick root right there. Down right there. So we can try to get rid of that one with our concave cutter. Right there. This cluster of roots in here. This is kind of our bottom of our root here. Going to clean this up a little bit. Tree's big, so it's wobbling all over the place, so I have to support it with my body a little bit here and then just dig away at this root here. As I put it in the pot here, it looks pretty good. We'll probably raise it up just a little bit, get some good coarse soil at the bottom there, and then our medium soil for the rest, and we got a lot of roots in there. Trying to get them in a radial pattern here, spread them out, and we got rid of that bottom a little bit. Oop, we damaged that bottom leaf there a little bit. So there's our bottom. Let's give it a spray and take a look at it. So because this is such a big tree, a heavy tree, and even though it's going into a heavy pot, it's tall, I won't be cutting it back and doing any major chops this time around. I'm definitely going to have to tie this one into the tree. We have some lower roots that I can go ahead and wrap some wire around that I'm not worrying about scarring, so that's okay. But we'll go ahead and we'll wire this thing in and get it secure into this pot. We've got the drainage screen in there. We've got a couple of wires in there. Then we have to consider our tree. Now this is a round pot, so my main objective is to strictly get it secure in the pot. Not going to worry too much about where it's placed. Now there's a nice root right there that might be cut off one day, but there's another root down below it. if I can tuck this one through, right there, underneath, I can get it to this guy right here, and we can go ahead and get those to twist around. There we go. And I got one twist on there already. I'm going to lift up and twist. I'm going to lift up and twist. And lift up and twist. And then the next one, I got to bring this wire through the tree somewhere, and actually it comes to a very similar spot in the tree. I want to come over to this side of it though, so we have it kind of wrapping a little bit on both sides. Let's go through the tree underneath these roots right here. There we go. And we're trying to come to this wire over here. And I'm removing some roots so I can tangle as little as possible. Twist. Cut off some excess. And let's do some lifting and twisting. And this is going to actually pull on the other wire that we just twisted. Should give it some support that way as well. Ooh, there's the wind. Yeah. We've got it. It's a little loose in there. Twist. Twist, and that one's going to be pushed down. And I think we're pretty secure in there. The wind would still knock this down, so on a high storm night, I'm going to have to come take this in the house. And then, of course, inside in the plant room, we'll be good to go. So I'm just going around and spreading out these roots. Let them grow down and away, down and out. More out than down, hopefully. And we're going to go ahead and give it some medium-sized soil. One whole ice cream bucket full, and that's not even going to be enough. This pot is not a bonsai pot, so it doesn't have feet on the bottom. So right now the wires that are holding it in are making it a little wobbly, as you can see right there. Ooh, it's making the tree wobble too. Got to get some soil in there, and that'll hopefully, with root growth, we got to keep this thing out of the wind. But this is going to, remember, be in the cabin cold frame for the rest of summer, where it'll get some indirect sun, lots of warmth and humidity, some morning sun through the windows. And on calm days, we can take it out and put it in some indirect sun. Two full gallons of medium-sized soil in this guy, huh? Well, this is really exciting. We've got this beautiful blue pot that I got from my mom and stepdad after they moved out of their house and downsized. And I finally have a tree in it that's really, really nice. Now, it's a little wobbly because the wire's down below to hold this big tree in. But what I could do is I might be able to place it with a couple of wood notches around the edges and just lift it off the ground just a little bit. Or depending on where I put it on the deck, I can make it so it just sits up a little bit and protects it. Or I could just put it in my mulch garden down the road, and it would fit fine. But of course, for now, as I've stated before, it's going to go in the cabin cold frame. Aesthetically, it doesn't have to worry too much if it's leaning just a little bit. We're just trying to get the roots going on this thing, and eventually we'll be able to cut those wires off, and it should hold itself. So the flower up here is a little wilty. I think the damage was a little too much. So we're going to go ahead And there we go. That's as far as we got with that flower. But we have another one that might stick around. So we're going to bring this down to the ground so I can see it a little bit better, and we'll do some pruning on this guy. So in order to get this all to fit on camera, I put this on the first step of my deck, and we're going to be able to see if we can make some cuts on this tree now. So let's look at it from the proposed front, and this is one of them. This branch coming up here, if this thickens up nice, could we ever chop it down here one day and make this the new tree? Hard to say. Right now it's going to thicken up the bottom. We don't want to have any reverse taper in here though, so I don't want this to thicken up just this section, but hopefully it beefens up the whole thing. We'll watch it closely. So that's kind of one of the fronts right here. Or it could be this way. The other side warms you in a little bit more with kind of a hug, but again it has this branch right here that's kind of in our face. If we take that off, that's a big structure gone in the tree. So what I would do right off the bat is just cut it down a little bit more. No buds on there. And we cut this off so it's not quite so deep into our face. And then we'd cut that shorter, and cut that shorter. So that just took care of this branch right here. Right. So we have a branch in here that's growing really straight up. And cut that off. This one is died. We'll cut that off. This growing up and in. We'll cut that off for right now. So we have to bring this tree down regardless. So here's the current leader with that one or this one back here. If I just go ahead and cut this down here to the next branch, that makes this the new leader. And if I cut this one off here, that makes this the new leader. This could become the new leader. And I cut this one shorter. This right here, we got this coming up here. There's some growth back there. This I think I'd even take one step further and just put this right there. This one we're going to come down to here for right now just to make it shorter. I would do the same with this guy right here, bringing him shorter. These two are crossing each other, so let's just get rid of this one completely and bring this down to some new growth. Leave that for right now. And we already just took away some of the big size of this tree. We come to this side. If this was the front, or if it's the back, regardless, this branch is super big. We don't want that. This one is very big. Here's my branch with the bud right there. We're going to keep that on and just see this one bud before we cut it off, just so we can see it. It might be a little too stressed for that right now. We'll cut that off right here. We'll cut this tip off right here. This one needs to go a little further, I think. To let this one go. All right, and there's growth behind it. You see how this branch right here is super long and straight up to here, but there's this branch back there that curves a little bit. Let's get some taper from thick to thinner right here, and it divides right there. And there's new growth down lower where these branches might be completely off someday. So this is still too straight of a section. It's about 8 inches long and it's straight. Same with this right here. So maybe we cut down to this one. Those are decisions we'll all make in the coming years with this tree. Now, this branch is growing inside at a really weird angle. We're going to clean that up and just get rid of that one at the base by the trunk. And we'll clean up that wound a little bit more. And that'll heal over time. There we go. So there's the other proposed front possibility. These are crossing each other. Let's just make this one shorter right now and see what they do down the road. This is still a really thick branch. And there's another new branch right in here. right here. You can't see probably from the camera right there. Makes me think this one is a little bit too long. Here's the bud. We're going to keep that bud there, remember. Now this is going up a little bit too much. We cut this whole section off here and it grows back this way. Cut off the tip. We might even be able to cut it down to here where it's, again, it's thick. You see this? All the same thickness till about right here. Let's cut that off and work on these new branches that are getting a little bit, well, they're thinner right now. There's the bud again. We're keeping the bud. Cutting down to existing leaves. There's little leaves down here, little leaves down here, little leaves down here. I could cut this tip off. We got the tree with the birdie in it. So all these fan outward and this one fans up, so we're going to cut that right off. Doesn't flow very nice. We have some little stuff on the inside that's dead or dying. This one right here. A little bit of almost a Jeanne right there. Kind of odd for a hibiscus tree. And we have some young growth in here. We've got one that's growing right inside here where we got other branches. I don't think we need that one or this one. And we're going to go ahead and clean up this wound from a former break, it looks like. And then we have this right here that was a former break. We can clean that up. And those will heal in time. We've got a branch real inside here on the inside of this Y trying to grow. So we clean that up a little bit. So as we continue to look at the tree, we've just cleaned it up a little bit. We have a branch that's crossing right here. It doesn't make sense. This one's crossing as well. Opens up the tree a little bit more. We've got new growth down here. This is a very big branch up here. It has the bud up top that we're keeping for right now. That will go eventually. There's a bud right here too, flower bud. We might see if that continues to grow. And then I think this would all be cut down for to promote lower growth down here with these branches down here. This is kind of a thick division right here. It divides into two, and this divides into two real quick, but this is really thick and predominant, but the same size all the way up from here to here. So we can cut this back and promote the lower growth down the road here, not tonight. So we still have this possible sacrificial branch. We have nothing for about 12 to 15 inches. Will we get some back budding next year after all, or maybe this winter in the plant room later on? But we're going to put this in the cabin cold frame while we still have heat of the summer, and we're going to see how it does. Remember, we've got a flower bud or two. We've got actually a flower bud here, a flower bud here, here, and here. So we might get a little bit of flower activity, but with all the stress on the tree, it might not happen. So we're not going to be too concerned if it doesn't happen. It'll be fun if it does happen. Yeah, so we have a lot of straight sections, straight, straight, straight. But what we're going to do is hope that all this pruning today in this new pot, bonsai soil, we'll get some fertilizer in there. We hope that this sets us up for some nice new growth, and when it takes off again and we possibly get some back budding in here, that we'll be able to choose new branches and bring those down even lower. And will we see some branches down here? This grew. This is a back bud. There's old remnants of branches here broken off. We could get some more buds in here and make this tree a really phenomenal tree someday. But in the meantime, I think we'll give it another watering and put it in its new home and make sure the windows are in the cabin cold frame. I don't think it's going to happen. The problem is that I will move it around and disturb some of the roots right here if I move it around too much in the next coming days. Well, what do you know? I still have my GoV thermometer out here from the cold frame winter months when I monitor to make sure that it's not going below freezing. And right now we've got 73 degrees in here and we've got 82% humidity. So when I talked with Nigel Saunders of the Bonsai Zone, he said, yeah, just make sure it's warm, Dave, and make sure you get some good humidity and the trees should recover really, really well. So we're at August 20th when I filmed this. And we still got some of August left. September could be warm. This tree has a good 4 to 6 weeks to recover before I'll put it inside, unless we get some cold spell. 83% humidity. And that's just since I closed these windows off. I'll leave the door open for now. I'll close it if it gets too non-humid in here, but I think it's going to be fine. The sun will come in here in the morning. We'll get a little bit of a direct sun. And just for the morning, an hour or two, and then it'll just be indirect sun for the rest of the day. So, we got the birdie up here, it survived. We've got a couple of buds that may or may not go with all this stress, and now there's not as much sun. It'll be interesting. But phase one is done. It's in this big pot, it's secure in here, it's watered, we've pruned it. This is a really exciting tree. I can't wait to see what happens with this. There we have it. The hibiscus is in a tropical zone right now. Just for the few minutes I was videotaping in there, I started to just feel sweaty. It's going to do fine in there, I think. Enough light, humidity, warmth, it's going to be in good shape. Wow, that was a fun project. Jeanne, I hope you're happy. We'll keep this tree alive and healthy and see where it goes in the coming years. And that's going to do it for this show. So, hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you very soon when we do another one.